So, speaking of creating things for yourself, you created the Bestie Project. Can you tell us a little bit about the Bestie Project? Like, how did this come about? What is it exactly? Like, give us the tea.
Yes. Okay, I love the Bestie Project. Is my little baby. Yeah, I feel like from just what I've all shared of navigating friendships, losing friendships, restarting over, and then on top of that, then once I started like moving and living nomadically, then it was like I was kind of starting from ground zero all over again of trying to make friendships
Uh-huh.
and connections. And something that I was hearing from so many people in my life, especially women, especially in their like 30s area, 30s or
Uh-huh.
beyond, honestly, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, is like
Yeah.
all these people saying, "Yeah, I don't really have friends," or "Yeah, I mean, I have some people that I go out with, but I don't really have anyone that I want to call when I'm having a hard." And just
Mm.
it being like this thing, so many of us not really having connections that feel really deep or feel good, or yeah, my
Uh-huh.
college friendships kind of fell off, so now I just don't really have anyone. Or so many of us have moved, right? Like we don't live in a society
Mm.
anymore where you grow up in the same place and stay in the same place and never leave. Some people
Yeah.
do, but so many people move across the country, or they move to another city, a bigger city, or they live somewhere else. And so suddenly all their friends are long distance. And yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have so many long distance friends that I hold so dear to my heart. And also
Yeah.
like that only fulfills a little piece of that relationship aspect that we crave. And so
Yep.
I was like, all right, how do I maybe I can create something that supports people and creating those relationships in their life where they're at. Cause I can't just
Yeah.
show up to everybody's house and say, "Hey, here's a friend for you." I wish I could. I would. I would if I could. So instead, I'm like, okay, I'm going to create something, call it the Bestie Project. And the whole idea is you show up. Yes, we're virtual, but you get to practice and do all the things that are going to help you build a friendship and a relationship that feels really close, but do it in a
Hmm.
place where like we're all showing up to be the weird ones together, right? So
I
let's
love
show
it.
up practicing things like asking for help, or talking about some of our darker shadows and things we're afraid of and things that we don't like to show to other people. Showing up
Mm-hmm.
and asking, "Hey, what is something that you think is a gift that I bring to this world?" And like reflecting that back to each other. So like things that are so good, and automatically you can't help but create intimacy when you dive into your messiness, when you dive into celebrating each other, when you ask for help from each other. Those things all are just automatic things that are going to create intimacy. If you can do that in a
Yeah.
place where it feels so much safer because you're like, okay, she also feels weird. I know that we're in
Yeah.
this together. We're trying to test this
Mm-hmm.
out. Then hopefully you can take that into your day to day life and be like, all right, I'm going to show up
Yeah.
again. I've already done it.
Yeah.
I've proved to myself that I can survive. And now I'm going to
Yeah.
do it in my day-to-day life and build those relationships here in my city where I live. And so that's what the Bestie Project is about. And I love it so much. It's like a mix of like fun slumber party vibes where you're giggling and talking and telling secrets, and then like also just like deep relationships that feel so good and you feel so seen and heard. And I love it.
Love it.
It's the best thing ever, and I hope to continue to make it. My goal is to create this more into like a membership so people can hop in anytime and just be a part of
Yeah.
it, and then you really get to know people long term. And so even virtual besties are still
Yeah.
besties. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. So two questions for you. My first question is, because everything that you said makes so much sense, especially like I love how you frame the Bestie Project. Like one of the things that you talked about in the Bestie Project is how you guys kind of basically expose yourselves, right? And that through that exposure is how you make those connections with each other. Why do you think that that is so difficult sometimes for women to do?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of a lot of things. I think we're also, especially in like the States in the Western world, we kind of live in a society now that is very individualistic. And
Mhm.
that's amazing. There's so many positives we've gained from that. Like, so much more freedom and how you can live your life and things like that. And also I think what it's done is created a I need to do it on my own type of mentality. I need to,
Mhm.
if I don't, then I'm not proving that I'm stronger and capable, or I'm able to do
Mm.
that. And then what that then leads into is like this, I'm sure you've experienced this, competition between women, right? Like
Yeah.
this
Oh,
idea of we're always in competition with each other. And I hate that. I hate it so much. I'm like, why are we doing that to each other? We
it's
are
horrible.
meant to support each other. But there, and
Yes.
then so what happens is like you experience that competition with someone, and then suddenly there's like a defensiveness you put on yourself then because then you want to protect
Oh,
yourself. Okay, well, I what I'm gaining from these relationships with women around me is just this sense of competition or being torn down, and so I don't feel the positives of a friendship or a relationship. So why would I seek this out anymore? But then we get to the point
yeah.
where like we put all these walls up. Especially like we have so many conversations now around boundaries. Boundaries are amazing. I'm so glad that boundaries are a conversation that we have. And also, I think
Mhm.
you can build up your boundaries so high that you completely cut off all intimacy or connection with others. Friendships
Yeah.
are messy, relationships are messy. You're not
Yeah.
always going to be happy with that other person, and they're not always going to be
Mm.
happy with you. Sometimes they're going to piss you off. Sometimes, you're going to piss them off. And so like
Yeah.
we have to have permission for that. And so I think that's why
Mhm.
sometimes it's really hard to step into that intimacy with someone else because it's like not only do you have to have permission for someone else's messiness, but you have to have permission for your own. And that in a lot of ways is even more
Ooh.
difficult to face. To say, whew, okay, like I am really stubborn sometimes, or I am very closed off
Mhm.
when I'm really struggling, or facing
Yeah.
your own things that are not fun to look at, but you have
Mm.
to be willing to look at those and say they exist to have really amazing relationships. And all those things are really scary, they're really hard, and your pride and your protectiveness, your little, inner
Yeah.
gremlin that wants to make sure that you stay safe and by yourself is going to fight back against that stuff. And so I think that like it's so amazing that when we can practice that, when we can show up in our messiness and when we can show up and ask for help and admit that we can't do everything all on our own because we're not meant to. That's
Yeah.
where like all of those like beautiful relationships unlock and become so much deeper and so much more fulfilling for all parties. And so yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's just something that human nature, it's really difficult to do in general. And then you add on top of society and social media and all these other things, and you're just making it even more difficult.